Hey everybody, Taz here from Melius Consulting. I hope all is well. What I'm going to be talking about today is what a resume, in my opinion, should contain. Now, the problem if you're a job seeker is this. There are a lot of opinions out there. There are a lot of opinions about what a resume should look like, what it should contain. And I understand that that must be so confusing because, of course, a lot of those opinions are contradictory. Many will tell you a resume should be 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages. It should contain a photograph, it shouldn't contain a photograph. It should be in color, it should be in black and white. It should form this structure, it shouldn't form that structure. I've even had people calling me and saying to me, what should a Dubai resume look like? There's no such thing. The problem with all of that, of course, is that these are just opinions. And everybody has one. Whether they are experts or not, everybody has an opinion. So you are, of course, bombarded with information, much of it purported to be truth and fact, whereas it is, of course, just opinion. And the reason I say it's just opinion is that if you took 10 recruiters, the experts when it comes to resumes, right? If you took 10 recruiters and you put them in separate rooms and you ask them what a resume should look like, the likelihood is you're going to get 10 different answers. Why is that? Because there are no rules around resumes. There are no absolute imperatives around resumes. There are simply opinions. And it's really important to understand that because it can get confusing. It can get confusing. You're going to be bombarded with so many different opinions, contradictory, like I say, that who do you believe? Who do you trust? Who do you believe? So the first thing to do when it comes to writing a resume is to really understand that the advice that you're going to be given are just opinions. And what I'm doing in this video is also just my opinion. But as with all opinions, the way I would tackle it is to listen to experts. Be very, very selective about whose opinion you listen to, first of all. Listen to a variety of experts and then form your own conclusions. Right? Form your own conclusions. Remember, there are no rules around this. There are just opinions. So by all means, take on board the opinions of experts and then form your own conclusion on what you want your resume to look like. So that's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is really actually very, very important, and that's this. You need to determine who you are writing your resume for before you write it, before you create it. Who are you writing your resume for? If you are writing your resume for an applicant tracking system, your resume should look very different to if you are writing your resume for a recruiter or a leader or a hiring manager. Applicant tracking systems read keywords. So if you're writing your resume for an applicant tracking system, fill it with keywords. Common sense, right? Just fill it with keywords. The system will think you are the best thing since sliced bread and your resume will shoot to the top of the pile. Of course, the problem is you'll only get that far, right? If somebody opens at your resume and just sees a bunch of keywords, the chances of you getting an interview are small. The chances of you passing that interview are probably even smaller, unless you've applied very specifically to the right role. So to answer the first question, are you writing your resume for an applicant tracking system? Then you need to understand the rules of how applicant tracking systems work and then play to those rules. I wouldn't do that. If I was writing a resume, if I was looking for a job, I would be wanting to write my resume for a human being to read. And human beings read resumes very differently. They read everything very differently to machines. The machine will scan your resume very quickly, pick out keywords, maybe pick out some phrases. They'll say they use artificial intelligence, it's just matching keywords, and then move your resume to the top of the pile. A human being doesn't read a resume like that. Now, which human being? Recruiters or business leaders, hiring managers? Well, again, if it was my decision, I wouldn't be writing my resume for recruiters. I would be writing my resume for people who deeply understand what it is I do and the value it is that I offer. That's not to say that all recruiters don't understand that. It's just I'd give myself the best chance. And the best chance of you being successful is having your resume being read by somebody who maybe did the job or is doing the job or would be your boss or knows precisely what's required, rather than somebody who is doing the work for someone else, a recruiter. So if I was writing a resume, I would be very, very clearly writing it for the ultimate reader, the person that ultimately I want my resume to be read by. And the other thing is that the other question I'd be asking is, what purpose is your resume there to serve? What should it achieve? And the resume really only has one purpose, right? It's to get you an interview. It's not there to present your life story. It's not there to present your entire career journey. It's not there to present every project you've ever worked on. It's not there to showcase every single skill that you may have touched upon throughout your career. It's simply not. Your resume is there just to get you an interview. So, if it was me doing it, I would be writing my resume for the ultimate reader to present precisely the right amount of information for them to determine that they want to see me. Right? So you've got to remember that they should be able to determine that they want to see you for an interview. Now, what's the criteria they use to determine that? Because that's the only question you need to answer is, as the reader of the resume, do I want to interview this person? That's the only question you need to answer. Well, this is really important. Most people fill their resume with responsibilities. The problem with responsibilities is they don't differentiate you from the next person with the same job title, ballpark, right? Let me explain that. If you took two sales managers, same industry, competing companies, and looked at their responsibilities, 90% of those responsibilities would be exactly the same. So if you are filling your resume with a list of responsibilities, all you are doing is telling the reader exactly why you're the same as someone else. And what you need to be doing is you need to be telling them why you're different to someone else. What makes you unique, different, special, and better, worse, I don't know, but what makes you different? And the thing that differentiates you the most is what you are able to achieve. Given your responsibilities, plus your skills, plus your attitude, what are you able to achieve? So your resume should be full of responsibilities. Full of achievements, not responsibilities. Your responsibilities will tell your reader why you're the same as everyone. Your achievements will tell the reader why you're different to everybody. And based on your achievements, the interviewer, the person reading your resume will be able to determine whether they want to see you or not. There are a couple of other things around how human beings read resumes. You know, we are drawn naturally to colour. It's why kids' toys, when we're babies, and those little toys that hang over your cot, that's why they're bright colours. We are naturally drawn to colour. They say a picture paints 1,000 words. We receive information far better through diagram and far more quickly through diagram and pictorial representation than we do words. We also know that our psychology is changing. Our attention spans are reducing largely because of social media. So we are drawn more towards imagery and our attention spans are shortening. When you understand these things, and these are facts, these are not opinions, then you start to realize why a traditional, lengthy, written, black and white, word-on-word resume just isn't effective anymore. We also know, factually again, that the average resume is read between 5 to 7 seconds. So what people are doing are glancing at resumes. The question you have to ask yourself is, what information do I want to present that can be read and received within 5 to 7 seconds in a way that is most conducive for the reader, that makes it most easy for the reader? So these are the sorts of questions I'd be thinking about if I were preparing a resume. I would not be writing a resume with paragraphs and paragraphs of words. I would not be writing a resume full of responsibilities. My resume would probably be something like a scoreboard to show exactly what I'm able to deliver, the outcomes that I'm able to deliver, because that's the value that you offer. It would most likely have something personal about me in terms of my values, my philosophies, my ethics. It would have a timeline of my career, but it would literally be a timeline. Maybe some dates, some job titles. And it would have probably a skills matrix of some sort to show what I'm best at and how strong I am at those skills. And beyond that, there's nothing a reader would want. There's nothing a reader wants. They want to know whether they should interview you or not. And the best way to show that is show them what you're capable of doing, show them who you are and what you stand for. Maybe that's enough. Again, just my opinion. But hopefully that's been some interesting opinion at least. Hopefully it's given you some food for thought. By all means, feel free to reach out to myself or any of the team at Melius Consulting if you want to talk more about resumes. But in the meantime, I hope that's been useful. Have a wonderful day ahead. I'll talk to you again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.